You know the moment. The one where your toddler goes from completely fine to completely gone in about 4 seconds flat. Where the screaming starts and the floor happens and suddenly you are standing in the middle of a supermarket or a living room or a birthday party wondering how you got here and how long this is going to last and whether anyone around you is judging you as hard as you are currently judging yourself. You have been there this week, maybe this morning, and the advice you were given, ignore it, stay consistent, don't give in, show them who is in charge, has not fixed it. Not really. Not in any lasting way. Because that advice was never actually about your toddler. It was about the behavior. And the behavior is not the real story. Here is what nobody told you about the tantrum happening in front of you. It is not a behavior problem. It is not manipulation. It is not your toddler testing limits or trying to control you or acting spoiled or proving that you have been too soft or too strict or too inconsistent. It is a brain event. A genuine, measurable, neurological event happening inside a brain that is not finished being built and that is being asked in the middle of that construction to do something it does not yet have the hardware to do. The moment you understand that, really understand it at a biological level, everything about how you see a tantrum changes. And everything about how you respond to it changes too. There are 4 real reasons your toddler tantrums. Not the reasons you were told. Not the behavioral explanations that put the responsibility on a 2-year-old to regulate something a 2-year-old brain is neurologically incapable of regulating. The real reasons. The ones rooted in neuroscience and developmental psychology. The ones that, once you hear them, will make you look at your toddler in the middle of their next meltdown with something you probably never expected to feel in that moment. Compassion. The toddler brain is one of the most fascinating and most misunderstood things in all of developmental science. Here is the single most important fact about it. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for emotional regulation, impulse control, rational thinking, and the ability to calm down when overwhelmed, is not fully developed until around age 25. In a toddler, it is barely online at all. The connections between the emotional brain, which is fully active, fully firing, fully feeling everything at full volume, and the rational brain that is supposed to manage those feelings, those connections are sparse, weak, and nowhere near functional enough to do the job. When your toddler loses control of their emotions, they are not choosing to lose control. They are experiencing what losing control feels like when the part of the brain that prevents it does not exist yet. That is not a behavior. That is a developmental reality. Real reason 1. Their brain cannot regulate yet. This is the foundation of everything. Your toddler is not refusing to calm down. They cannot calm down, not the way you can, not using the tools you use, taking a breath, putting things in perspective, choosing a different response. Those tools live in the prefrontal cortex, the one that is not built yet. What your toddler has is a fully developed emotional brain producing feelings at full adult intensity. Fear, frustration, rage, grief with almost none of the regulatory hardware needed to manage them. Imagine feeling every emotion you have ever felt at its absolute peak, with no ability to talk yourself down, no ability to think rationally, no ability to see past the feeling to what comes next. That is every tantrum. Not a performance, not a power play. A child completely overwhelmed by something they have no tools to handle, reaching for the only person who might be able to help. Real reason 2. They are overwhelmed, not manipulative. Toddlers live in a sensory and emotional world that most adults have completely forgotten. Everything is louder, brighter, more. The transition from one activity to another, which feels small to you, can feel catastrophic to a nervous system that has not yet built the ability to handle change smoothly. Hunger, tiredness, overstimulation, a tag in a shirt that is slightly too scratchy, a cup that is the wrong color, a plan that changed without warning. These are not trivial triggers to a toddler brain. They are genuine system overloads. And the meltdown that follows is not a calculated attempt to get what they want. It is a nervous system that has hit its limit and has no other way to say so. Real reason 3. They cannot find the words. Here is a piece of research that makes everything click. Tantrum frequency peaks at exactly the developmental stage when a toddler's emotional experience is most advanced, and their language ability is least able to keep up with it. They feel complex, layered, overwhelming emotions, frustration that is mixed with embarrassment, sadness that is mixed with anger, fear that is mixed with confusion, and they have approximately 12 words to describe all of it. The tantrum is what happens when the feeling is too big for the words available. It is not communication failing. It is communication trying, desperately, loudly, with the only tools on hand to express something that the available language cannot yet hold. When you understand that, the screaming sounds different. It starts to sound like someone asking for help in the only language they currently have. Real reason 4. They are asking you a question. This is the one that changes everything. When your toddler falls apart in front of you, completely, loudly, without any apparent concern for how it looks or who is watching, they are not just losing control. They are asking you a question. The question is this: is this relationship safe enough for me to completely fall apart in? A toddler who tantrums in front of you is a toddler who trusts you enough to show you their worst. Their most dysregulated, most overwhelmed, most completely undone moment. They are not performing for an audience, they are testing a safety net. And the answer you give, not in words, but in how your body and your face and your presence respond to them in that moment, is one of the most important things you will ever communicate to your child. Yes, you can fall apart here. I will not fall apart with you. I will stay. Now comes the part that is important to hear clearly, without it becoming something to feel destroyed by. The most common responses to tantrums, ignoring them completely, punishing them, sending the child away to calm down alone, do something specific to the developing brain. They confirm the worst fear a dysregulated nervous system has. When I am at my most overwhelmed, the person I need most disappears. Over time, that confirmation does not teach a child to regulate. It teaches them to suppress, to hide the dysregulation rather than move through it, to disconnect from their emotional experience because expressing it brings abandonment or punishment. The behavior might look better from the outside. Fewer visible tantrums, faster compliance, but the underlying nervous system, the one that never learned to actually regulate because it was never co-regulated through the storm, keeps the score. Every parent who has ever walked away from a tantrum or raised their voice at one or felt so overwhelmed that they handled it in a way they are not proud of, this is for you. You were taught to manage behavior. Nobody taught you to read a nervous system. You were given strategies for controlling a situation. Nobody gave you the neuroscience that explains what the situation actually is. You did what you were taught. With love, even when it was imperfect, and now you have different information. Which means from here, not perfectly, not every time, but more often than before, you can do something different. That is the whole point. Here is where child development professionals genuinely disagree. Should you set limits during a tantrum? One side says yes, clearly and immediately, that a child needs to know that certain behaviors are not acceptable regardless of their emotional state. That limits teach safety and structure, and that emotional validation without limits produces children who believe their feelings justify any behavior. The other side says that the tantrum brain is neurologically unreachable, that a child in full meltdown cannot process limits, cannot learn from consequences, and cannot do anything except wait for the storm to pass. That limits are valuable, but only before or after, never during. The research leans heavily toward the second position. You cannot reason with a brain that has temporarily lost access to its reasoning center. Connection first. Limits later. When the brain is back online. There is a term in neuroscience for what a toddler needs from you during a tantrum. Co-regulation. It means that a developing nervous system, one that cannot regulate itself yet, can borrow the regulation of a calm, present, connected adult nervous system to find its way back to calm. Not through words, not through logic, through proximity, through a regulated adult presence that says, without speaking, I am not frightened by this. This is survivable. Come back when you are ready. Your calm is not a parenting technique. It is a neurological tool your toddler's brain is completely dependent on. You are not just staying calm for yourself in that moment. You are being the regulation system for a brain that does not have one yet. If this is giving you a completely new way of understanding what is happening inside your toddler, this is exactly what this channel is here for. Real science. Plain language. No judgment. Hit subscribe so you never miss what comes next. 4 responses that work with the toddler brain instead of against it. First, get low and get close. Not to fix it, not to talk them through it, just to be physically near. Drop to their level. Reduce the physical distance. Your regulated nervous system works through proximity. It cannot reach them from across the room. Getting close is not giving in. It is providing the one tool their brain can actually use right now. Second, name the feeling out loud. One simple sentence. You are really upset right now. That felt really unfair. Not a speech, not an explanation, just a name for what they are feeling. Research consistently shows that naming an emotion during dysregulation activates the prefrontal cortex, however minimally, and begins the process of bringing the thinking brain back online. One named feeling can shorten a tantrum measurably. Third, regulate yourself first. Before you can co-regulate your toddler, you need to find your own calm. One slow breath, a conscious drop of your shoulders, a deliberate softening of your face. Your toddler's nervous system is reading yours in real time. If you are tense and frustrated, and you will be sometimes because this is genuinely hard, they feel it and the storm intensifies. Your calm is the intervention. Fourth, save the conversation for after. When the tantrum has passed and the child is calm and back in their body, that is when connection and brief, simple conversation about what happened is possible. Not during, not immediately after, when they are genuinely settled. A short, warm, non-punitive conversation after the storm reinforces the relationship and begins, slowly over many repetitions, to build the emotional vocabulary they need for next time. You are not failing at discipline. You are being asked to do something that requires more skill, more self-awareness, and more emotional capacity than almost any other human task. You are being asked to stay regulated when someone is screaming at you, to stay connected when every instinct says to create distance, to be calm when calm feels impossible. You are being asked to be a nervous system for someone who does not have one yet. That is not a small thing. That is one of the most demanding and most important things one human being can do for another. And the fact that you are here, trying to understand it more deeply, trying to do it better, says everything about the kind of parent you already are. The tantrum is not the worst moment of your parenting day. It is the moment your child needs you most. In all the noise and the screaming and the floor and the staring strangers, there is a child who is completely overwhelmed by a feeling they cannot name, in a brain that cannot manage it, reaching for the one person they trust enough to fall apart in front of. They chose you for that. Not because you are perfect, not because you always get it right, because somewhere in their developing nervous system, in the place that tracks safety and knows who shows up and remembers who stays, they filed you under the only category that matters: safe. And the next time the storm comes, and it will come, you do not have to fix it. You just have to stay. That is enough. That has always been enough. If this changed how you see your toddler today, share it with a parent who is in the thick of it right now. And subscribe, because your child is trying to tell you something in every difficult moment. And you deserve to understand every word.